The Alienware m17 is a powerful gaming laptop, but how hot does it get? And does this cause performance problems? I'll be taking a detailed look at thermals and seeing how we can improve performance by undervolting, overclocking, boosting power limits, raising fan speed, and using a cooling pad. In my configuration, I've got the Intel i7-8750H CPU, 90W NVIDIA RTX 2080 Max-Q graphics, and 16GB of memory running in dual channel. The M17 is also available with RTX 2060 and RTX 2070 Max-Q graphics, or an i9 CPU, so expect different results with those options. On the bottom of the laptop, there are just air vents up the back, directly above the intake fans. There were also a couple of heat pipes shared between the processor and graphics, so a change in temperature of one of these will affect the other. The Alienware Command Center software allows you to select from different performance modes, and I've tested using a mixture of balanced and a custom version of the performance profile. By default, the performance and balanced profile performed exactly the same in my tests, so I slightly tweaked the performance profile to run with the fans at max speed, as the performance profile didn't do this by default. Thermal testing was completed in an ambient room temperature of 23 degrees Celsius, so expect different results in different environments. I've tested idle down the bottom with the quiet profile, and the temperatures were quite warm. Gaming was tested by playing Watch Dogs 2, as I find it to use a good combination of processor and graphics. The stress test results are from running the AIDA64 CPU stress test and Heaven benchmark at the same time to fully load the system. In all of the tests, the CPU, shown by the blue bar, was power limit throttling with a 35W TDP while under these combined CPU and GPU loads, and I was not able to raise it. The graphics were thermal throttling in almost all tests at 86 degrees Celsius. This could only be removed by using the Thermaltake Massive 20 cooling pad. These are the average clock speeds for the same tests just shown. With the gaming tests, there was no change to CPU clock speed by boosting the fan speed, as it was power limit throttling rather than thermal throttling. However, we do see an improvement to the graphics, as that was thermal throttling. We only get a CPU improvement when applying a -0.13V undervolt, shown by UV on the graph, getting to 3.5 GHz in Watch Dogs 2. While under stress test, even with all the improvements in place, including maximum fan speed, CPU undervolting, and a cooling pad in use, we're still about 600 MHz below the full 3.9 GHz all-core turbo speed of the i7-8750H due to power limit throttling. However, we were able to improve the GPU clock speeds quite a bit and remove the thermal throttling there. These are the clock speeds I got while just running CPU-only stress tests without any GPU load. With the AIDA64 stress test running, it was possible to hit the 3.9 GHz all-core turbo speed of the i7 with the CPU undervolt in place. However, we were almost reaching full performance at stock. This is because under a CPU-only workload, the CPU was able to run at a constant 60W TDP, although it was still power limit throttling intermittently, which is why the full clock speed wasn't hit in this test. These are the temperatures for the same tests just shown, with the CPU undervolt not only performing better, but also running 14 degrees cooler too, as the CPU was now averaging a 44W TDP. To demonstrate how this translates into performance, I've got some Cinebench CPU benchmarks here. There's no difference to the single core results, as this isn't enough load to cause any throttling. There was a little improvement in multi-core with the undervolt applied, as it both runs cooler and without the power limit being hit. Here are the GPU-only clock speeds while under a graphical-only stress test. And there's basically no point overclocking here because the temperatures show that the graphics are still thermal throttling at 86 degrees, even under a graphical-only load. Without the CPU being stressed, GPU throttling was still hit, not great. So how do these performance boosts actually translate into games? I've tested with the exact same Windows, NVIDIA, and game updates installed. The only changes were the ones listed here. Far Cry 5 was tested using the built-in benchmark at 1080p. I've got the stock settings shown in purple, the results from applying the same -0.13V CPU undervolt and 100 MHz GPU overclock as before in red. Then the green bar has the same tweaks, but with the cooling pad in use. At higher settings, there's basically no change between the red and purple bars due to the GPU throttling. However, the CPU undervolt seems to help improve performance slightly at lower settings. The green bar is performing the best in terms of average frame rates, as the graphics are now able to perform better as the cooling pad helps remove the GPU thermal throttling. At ultra settings with the cooling pad in use, we're seeing 6% higher average FPS than without it. As for the external temperatures where you'll actually be putting your hands, at idle with the silent profile it was warm. 30 degrees is about normal, but we're hitting 40 in the center with the M17. While gaming, it was quite warm now, reaching the mid-50s in the center, making the keys uncomfortable, though cooler out towards the sides of the keyboard. Similar results were seen with the stress tests running, and then with the fan maxed out and CPU undervolted, it lowered just slightly. While gaming on battery power, the wrist rest and touchpad area warms up a bit as the battery is directly below. As for the fan noise produced by the laptop, I'll let you have a listen to some of these tests. At idle, it was fairly quiet. However, the fan did slightly ramp up a little at times, fluctuating between 1 decibel or so. While gaming or running the stress test with balanced mode, it wasn't too loud compared to other laptops. And we can see the performance mode wasn't affecting fan speed as discussed previously. Only my custom manual profile was able to fully max out the fans, though even this didn't boost them that much. And the total volume level was a little quieter when compared to many other laptops I've tested under the same loads. Overall, the Alienware m17 is a hot machine, at least with this high-end configuration I've got here. I can't speak for the 2060 or 2070 Max-Q options without testing. It is also available with the overclockable i9-8950HK CPU, and while it may perform better in some workloads, I would be concerned about adding even more heat into an already thermal throttled system. Granted, the CPU wasn't thermal throttling in my testing due to the 35W TDP limit in combined CPU and GPU workloads such as gaming, but as there are shared heat pipes, dumping in additional heat would likely further lower the performance of the 2080 Max-Q, as that's already thermal throttled in most of my testing. Even in GPU-only testing, without CPU load, the graphics were thermal throttling, which was not good and not something I often see. However, I was at least happy to see that the CPU can run much higher with the 60W TDP when under a CPU-only load. It's not just hard capped to one level, like we saw with the MSI GE75, and can change based on the workload. As the fan noise was quieter compared to other laptops I've tested, I do wonder if perhaps they should have used more powerful fans to combat the high temperatures. The biggest thing we could do to improve performance was add in a cooling pad. CPU undervolting and raising the fan speed did help a little, but the act of raising the laptop up and blowing in cool air helped the most. The 240W power brick mostly seemed to be adequate. I didn't have any battery drain while plugged in and performing the gaming and stress tests for this video. However, I did notice a small amount of drain while benchmarking 20 different games. These differences in performance shown aren't hard and fast rules. There are different factors which will vary results. Primarily the temperature of the room you're running in, application of thermal paste, and even the specific hardware, which comes down to the silicon lottery. You may not be able to undervolt or overclock your hardware the same as me. It depends on the chip and its specific power requirements, so don't just blindly copy my settings and do some testing to find out where your stable point is for best results. It may be possible to further improve temperatures by swapping the thermal paste. However, as this is a review unit that I have to send back, I'm not able to change the paste. Otherwise, the next reviewer will unknowingly report different results due to what I've done. Undervolting and raising the fan speed is much easier for most people to do. And as we've seen, it did improve the performance in the Alienware m17 gaming laptop. A cooling pad can help too, both by further reducing temperatures and improving clock speeds. Although that's not exactly a portable solution for such a pricey machine. Let me know how much of a performance boost you found by undervolting your hardware, and what you thought of the improvements here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for the full review of the Alienware m17 gaming laptop, as well as future thermal testing videos like this one.